Okay, so today's been a hugely anticipated day for Ukraine because the president of the United States has said that he's making a massive statement on what the future is going to look like for support. And that statement's just been made in the Oval Office, and there's lots of reactions coming into it now. And I think one of the most revealing parts of this is actually right at the beginning here. This is what a lot of people are speculating. One of the main reasons that Trump is now being very supportive of Ukraine and probably quite fed up with Putin. And it's him talking about his wife. Listen to this one first. Absolutely fascinating.
I go home, I tell the First Lady, and I spoke to Vladimir today. We had a wonderful conversation. She said, oh, really? Another city was just hit. So it's like, yeah, look.
So that shows that she's pretty concerned about what's going on in Ukraine. And again, he comes home, he boasts, I've just had this great call with my best friend Putin. And she says, well, actually, I'm not too sure about it. This is another clip where he's saying basically the same thing. And this kind of shows Trump's tone shift on realizing that Putin is all talk when it comes to him, that Putin is just bluffing and just delaying and delaying so he can take as much land in Ukraine. This one's 20 seconds.
I speak to him a lot about getting this thing done. And I always hang up and say, well, that was a nice phone call. And then missiles are launched into Kiev or some other city. And I said, strange. And after that happens 3 or 4 times, you say, the talk doesn't mean anything.
So it looks like this is what's annoyed Trump the most, is the fact that every single time he has a phone call with Putin, missiles rain from the sky. And Putin has been doing this way more frequently. I obviously live here in Kyiv, and I actually predict that probably tonight or tomorrow, symbolically, out of fury, Putin's going to launch another major missile attack on this city. And again, look at some of these quotes. We're very, very unhappy with Russia. And we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have the deal in the next 50 days. Summarizing what he's actually going to offer Ukraine looks like a big, big weapons package for new and expensive billions of dollars worth of weapons. And he's going to give them to NATO. And then he expects NATO to give Ukraine a huge amount of its existing stockpile. So it's almost like it upgrades NATO's equipment. And then NATO can give Ukraine everything that it has currently. And also a package of 17 Patriot missiles, which it sounds like are maybe coming from Israel. He said that they're from another country outside of the US that can spare them. But honestly, 17 Patriots is absolutely insignificant. If you think there's sometimes, there are some days where they put 10 missiles here into Kyiv in one evening, that's already 10. So this is like a couple of days worth or even a big evening's worth. So I wouldn't focus on Patriots. It's not actually that interesting. But all this is coming with a backdrop of Russian propagandists freaking out as well. I've bookmarked some of these tweets here. So this is from Margarita Simonyan, who was panicking in the last 24 hours, basically saying, American presidents don't control Americans' foreign policy, no matter how much they might like to. The West will raise the stakes and we'll have to respond to this threat. All this will end with nuclear ultimatums since it can't end with anything else. This is also typical Russian narratives. If you don't give us what we want, or if you annoy us, we're going to kill everyone. We're going to nuke the whole world, right? This is what Putin says. This is what Margarita Simonyan says. She's the CEO of Russia Today. So I expect that Russia's going to react with fury with this because Putin doesn't like to be threatened. And what's also happened is, there are now, it's 50 days. That's how long, Trump is going to give Putin to respond to this and to basically back down, which is actually way too long. That's 50 days that this country is going to continue to be hit with drones and missiles. Russia have said recently that they want to amplify and ramp up their drone production so that they can hit this country with 1,000 drones a night. And the drones that have been hitting this city have been, there was 750 a few nights ago. That was significant. Before that, it was about 500. But if it starts reaching 1,000 a day, then this is going to be absolutely devastating for Ukraine. So there's a race against time right now. And it's not great that that Trump isn't dealing with this as fast as he possibly should. He should be giving Putin, honestly, 48 hours, because all Putin actually has to do is to tell his troops to pause, to stand down, to ceasefire. And there's been a lot of conversations about ceasefire in the last few weeks, last few months, especially since Trump took office. And a lot of them have been kind of misplaced in the media. It's been seen as, Ukraine not really cooperating, Putin kind of wanting to stand down. Ukraine every single time has agreed to the United States, Trump's and Biden's ceasefire proposals. It is Russia that is completely uninterested in getting to the negotiation table. Because again, Russia isn't interested in peace. Look at what they're doing on the front line right now. They're actually making quite significant advances in the last few days in Chasiv Yar. They are throwing everything they can to grab as much land as possible before anything is stopped. And now it looks like they've been given a 50-day deadline. But there's a lot of different reactions to this. And also, the Russians are angry right now. They're furious because, the Ukrainians are now putting long-range drones and homemade drones into Russian airspace, right? They're hitting all refineries, military sites, and they're closing the airfields because air defense don't want to shoot down aircraft, right? And so Russia is already on the back foot, and this would have been the perfect time to go much harder than this. When there's a conversation at the negotiation table and one side is on the back foot, right? One side doesn't have the advantage. One side is economically on edge like Russia. This really would have been the time to say, you know what? We're not going to do 100% potential tariffs. We're going to do 500% potential tariffs, and we're going to do them literally in the next few days unless this is dealt with. And this is just another moment here that's interesting. Office workers in Moscow are being moved to remote work due to the threat of strikes. These strikes are really crippling Russia right now, and Ukraine have gotten back to hitting Russia more frequently again because they have seen Trump as basically just off the table. They've seen Trump as someone that is just uninterested in engaging with this right now. But honestly, looking at this, and I watched the whole thing live, it seems like the most interesting thing was what Melania said to Trump, and Trump just being fed up with Putin, because the first step in Trump actually potentially doing something to help Ukraine, and I would much rather gauge his actions, not his words, right? Trump is a flip-flopping yo-yo with this right now. God knows what he'll say tomorrow. But one thing that is indisputable is his body language and the way that he speaks about Trump. He's genuinely annoyed about it. And that's not something you can really pull back from. Don't forget, Trump is a massive narcissist. He is he cares only of himself. And if that means that it looks like he could be humiliated by someone like Putin on the world stage in front of everyone, that's probably not something that he's going to want to tolerate, even if it's just to protect himself, not caring about Ukraine. So it's an interesting moment. It's less than I anticipated he would do. 50 days is disappointing. But I think it also signals that the next 50 days are going to be very, very interesting. The way that Russia is going to respond to this is going to do a blitz on Kyiv. That's what they do every single time. Russia always responds with anger and frustration and things like this. They will threaten the United States endlessly. Putin will probably give a statement in the next 24 hours responding to this, telling Americans that Moscow is now going to nuke the world, nuke Washington, D.C. They'll probably put graphics out of nuclear bombs crashing into London. If you see those videos and those headlines, turn the page or change the channel. It's nonsense. This is what Russia's been doing from the beginning. It'll be Putin throwing his toys out of the pram. And if there's anything else to go by, even Trump now realizes that Putin is bluffing. So this has been fascinating. These are the clips that I thought were the most worth highlighting. Again, the Patriot's kind of useless. 17 Patriot batteries. I mean, that's really not much. The sanctions at 100% will be bad for Russia. But the weapons deliveries, again, we don't know exactly what type of missiles that's going to look like, exactly what type of ammunition that's going to be and how long it's going to take to arrive. He said the first shipment should be in the next few days, but that will all become apparent. The most important takeaway is that maybe Trump is finally starting to get it. And even if that means he acts a bit too little, a bit too late, it's a small step in the right direction. Zelensky will obviously respond to this in the next couple of days as well. So will Putin. So I might interview Hamish again or someone and get some reaction to this. But this is my immediate thoughts on what this looks like and what this means as someone that's been based here in Ukraine. So my first time doing a video like this, just reacting. So if you liked it, let me know in the comments. And I will see you tomorrow.